Yeah, Rory wins the green jacket. Joining us on the Wester Hotline, Mr. Brian Koziol, who had quite a job yesterday. He's watching the Sabres and Lightning and watching the final round of the Masters, and we can get thoughts on both of those here as the Sabres finish the road portion of their schedule. But we'll start with the Masters, and we'll start with Rory McIlroy. Brian, earlier, by the way, good morning. How was the double?
Good morning, guys.
How was the double television there for you?
Yeah, it was going back and forth for sure. Yes, thank you, Lightning, for scheduling a 6 o'clock game.
Yeah, I got all
during the final round of the Masters.
The worst.
I was very appreciative of that. Yes.
Yeah. How was whatever? You've got that game, the Sabres' final road game of the season. You got Rory McIlroy and the Masters, and whatever, Brian. Like this tournament coming in. Joe asked in the first hour. He said, "Is it crazy to say it's the best Masters ever?" And I don't think it's crazy. I think it's in the mix. And certainly of the last 40 years, I mean, you've got a Tiger one here, Phil's win in 2004. But yesterday was, for golf fans, and I think even some crossovers might have gotten there eventually because Rory, I think to a lot of people, Brian, represents more than just a guy won a golf tournament. It's, I want to say perseverance. It's the parallels to the Bills and the Super Bowl I don't think are crazy. You're talking about somebody finally doing the thing that you wondered if they would ever do.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some what you'd say, quote, life lessons in there, right? About, not giving up. I was watching it with my son early, who's an avid golfer and a 15-year-old, and McIlroy double bogeys the first hole, and we were talking about, like, hey, how would you have reacted to this now? Like, you had this lead, and all of a sudden it's gone, and 2 holes in, now you're behind. And, so we were kind of talking about that. The swings yesterday of emotion of if playing it out from the side of McIlroy, if you're trying to get into his head of what that had to have been like, I mean, it felt like he lost and won that tournament a handful of times throughout. You get to the back 9. The moment where I really thought it was over was when DeChambeau hit it into the water on 11, and McIlroy's ball somehow stayed up. It was, obviously one where it was just a matter of inches for both balls there, and his stays in, or McIlroy stays dry, and DeChambeau's goes in, and they're saying, all right, this is it. And I thought to myself, he's got one more really difficult shot on 12. If he can get through that, and he hit the back of the green, and then I'm like, okay, he's got the 2 par 5s. He can play those safely, maybe even get 1 under in those holes. And then, of course, he plays 13 the way I thought he was going to do, and he hits it into the water. And I'm like, okay. So, and now Justin Rose is doing what we see Justin Rose do in the Ryder Cup, which is make like every putt that has pressure to it. And, he's fist pumping, making these putts, and holy cow, here we go. It's still on, despite the fact that DeChambeau has kind of gotten away. And then he hits the shot on 17, and he's yelling, go, 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 and then it's perfect, and he makes the putt. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be an incredible ending. And then on 18, nails the drive on the narrowest tee shot on the course, and then his shot catches the lip of the bunker. He still hits a great shot to recover, and then misses that 5-footer. And I'm just like, wow, even the CBS graphic for me, like, it felt so big, where he's sitting there ready to putt on 18, and it says for the career grand slam, like, at the top of the screen, and I'm like, wow, like, it felt super meaningful.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's running in his head, and then it just slid by. And then on, obviously, the playoff hole, Rose hits a great shot, and then McIlroy is even better, and hits it to that point. Just great stuff back and forth. The fact that McIlroy has had such heartbreak with short putts, don't have to go back very far. Last year's U.S. Open with him and DeChambeau, where he missed 2 putts on 16 and 18 that really, again, could have maybe given him the chance to break that majors drought. But this one was the one that, of course, he wanted because it was the career grand slam. He, on record, as he even has said, he values this tournament more than any other one in the world because of what he had done growing up watching it. So, yeah, it was great. It really was. My only challenge was the fact that I didn't get to hear as much as what I wanted to hear about what the commentators were saying about it, because I had obviously the Sabres game to keep an eye on as well too. But yeah, it was as good as a Masters as I can remember. I know yesterday I was watching Golf Channel at night, like 11 o'clock, and the panel was debating, like, where does this Masters fit? I was not alive, nor were you guys, for the 1975 one when Nicklaus and Weiskopf and Johnny Miller were going at it. They were comparing it to that. The 97 Woods one was different in the sense that you felt like this was like a new dawn of golf with Woods dominating. But the drama of how it was going to play out obviously was not there because he won by 12. And then maybe 2019 where there's a 5-way tie for the lead with 4 to go and Tiger's in the mix, and he obviously gets his, the great comeback that he gets one too. So, but recency bias. This is in our head right now in terms of the wild swings of emotion. This one has to be in the discussion for maybe the best Masters ever.
Yeah, that was my answer. Why I think for me it's number one for sure, even over 19, because like that major. There's really only one big swing, right? It's the stretch amen corner when Molinari puts it in the water. Tiger takes the lead, and he didn't lose it after that. And this was up and down. Rory, it's a lot of it was his putting too, right? Like he could have put it away. He missed even after some of his mistakes early. He misses an 11-footer on 13, an 8-footer on 14, a 6-footer on 15, a 9-footer on 16, and then the short putt that he missed to win on 18. Like he was putting himself in position. It was a little bit like Oberg yesterday, right? Like these guys were swinging unbelievably, and then they would get within 10, and they just couldn't. They couldn't close it.
That's a great point there of all those putts. I mean, and Oberg had a chance too. I mean, he was right there. He was tied. He had a putt for the lead at one point. Yeah, his putting, he was just a little off there as well. Obviously, if he makes some putts, who knows? We're having a discussion about him. I wonder what Scottie Scheffler's thinking here too. I mean, he could have been in the mix had he made some putts at any point over the course of the 4 days. He kind of, he was hot and cold putting too, and DeChambeau was disappointing in the sense that we thought it maybe was going to be this epic duel. We got good drama in a different way, but his irons were just off all tournament, he said, and yesterday it was on display quite a bit. For him to make some of the mishits with how accurate he is normally, it was obviously, if you're a DeChambeau fan, you were disappointed on how that went yesterday, that he went 3 over. The final group, McIlroy 1 over, DeChambeau 3 over. Like, I didn't see that coming to the point where you'd think with how scoreable it felt early, guys are making charges elsewhere. Look at this. The winning score ends up being even just one worse than what it started the day at, which was -12.
Brian Koziol with us on the Western Hotline. Brian, do you feel like Rory talked about this a little bit after the tournament. Do you feel like he's kind of freed up now after winning this major that, man, like he could go on a run because of how well he's hitting the ball? I think he said he feels his game is the best it's ever been. But that is if you think that these mistakes that he makes were about the pressure of the moment and all the load of, what his expectations are, that he's now won. He doesn't have the long drought. He's got the career Grand Slam. Like, do you feel like that the short putts and putting it in the water on like an 82-yard shot, that those are going to start to go away for him going forward?
I mean, I think because it's golf, you're still going to have, the blips here and there, but I think your overall point's correct. I think that there was so much pressure on him. The first thing he said in his press conference in the media room afterwards was, what are we going to talk about now? Because, I mean, every year he's been here, it's been about, hey, are you going to be able to complete the career Grand Slam? Obviously, there's only 6 people to ever do it, so it's an enormous accomplishment in the history of golf for him to be able to join that incredible Hall of Fame group that are sitting there that have the 5 that have the Grand Slam so far. I got to think it is. Part of maybe last year's disappointment, part of not handling last year's pressure well, is all got to be the buildup of just the major drought. And there's got to be a piece of him that is sitting here thinking, I should probably have a lot more majors than I do right now. Talent-wise, this guy's as good as, the best in the world that has ever played the game, and you wonder if he should have had more. I mean, we say the same thing about Tiger. If he didn't get injured throughout his career, how many would he have had? And I think McIlroy, maybe more so than any other golfer, we've seen Spieth, like, oh, is he the next guy? And then he falls away. We've seen it with a few others along the way. Jason Day even won a couple of majors. He kind of fell off. Scheffler, I think, is still in that mix. But McIlroy, throughout this majors drought, even though he hasn't won a major, He's been in contention so often. He's dominated in non-majors so much that it's not like his game's gone away. He's been a top 3 player throughout this entire drought. He's never been ever lower than that in world rankings. So it's not like he hasn't been a world-class player. He really has. He's just not found ways to get it done in the end of major tournaments, and I'm sure that's been hanging over him for quite a while. And, every year that the Masters goes on, he gets reminded of it. I'm sure he hasn't dealt with it wonderfully. But to be able to get that done yesterday, that emotion on the green when he's down on his knees there, crying, I think that definitely obviously was, as he said, it was 11 years of build-up to the point where finally now maybe he can play freely. I would expect, to answer your question, I would expect him to have more wins this year. And, obviously he's probably on his way to becoming player of the year already here with 3 wins already. He's got a Players' Championship. Yeah. He's got a Masters. He clinches the career Grand Slam. I would expect he's definitely going to be the favorite at the PGA. It's at Quail Hollow Club where he's won multiple times before when there's been regular PGA Tour events here. So I got to think that he's going to be feeling really good going into that next major in a month from now.
Brian Koziol on the Western Hotline. We'll get a thought on the Sabres in a moment. Brian, as McIlroy throughout that tournament in the final round especially would give the lead away and then get it back and give the lead away and give it back, like whatever. I've been making comparisons about that kind of performance to other sports, and it's a little bit like when he missed the putt on 18 and they're going to go to a playoff, I think, well, this is exactly where he needs to be. He's actually not good protecting a lead. What he needs to be is he needs to think, I need a generational shot to 4 feet. Because
when he played it safe is when he went in the water.
Playing to win is what he does. And it reminds me of, we all sit here and we talk about, hey, if the Bills are down 3 points with Allen back there, I like that. I like my chances. Versus being up and feeling like you're trying to protect that is so much more difficult. And it's just interesting, the mindset of McIlroy throughout, because if he had lost, he would have been labeled a choker. And yet, if you want to label him that, you kind of still can, because it definitely got to him 2 or 3 times. The wedge on 13, people call that the worst shot they've ever seen, and how bad that miss was. So the fact that he was able to bounce back and almost shift into hunting mode after protection mode was just not working.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. He could not handle just playing conservative golf really well. That shot on 17 when he knew that when he was down that he had to make birdie, that was really, really awesome at that point. I think he was actually tied maybe at that point when he hit the shot on 17. But there was a moment obviously where he was down. Pretty impressive stuff from him when he had to make the shots. Even if you look at when he fell down after hole 2, it was when DeChambeau took the lead on him. Mm-hmm. I think he came back with birdie, I think, on his next 2 holes. So he is probably better in that mode. You're right. I guess if you want to compare it to what we do with Josh Allen, right? Let him, let Josh be Josh, right? Let Rory be Rory, like the gunsling kind of attitude. And when he had to go at pins there, like he had to on the playoff hole, that was really, really, that's maybe the shot of his life for sure. The fact that he was able to stuff that down there to just a couple of feet, that was really, really impressive.
Yeah. How many shots of his life did he have yesterday? What to you? What was his best shot? Because I thought. Maybe this is because of did you hear the mic'd up part with his caddy on 7 when he hits this is the shot where it's in the air and you don't know where it's going to land
and it almost goes in.
And the crowd is like, whoa, they react to it, and you could kind of hear in the mic'd up right before that his caddy, who I know his name's out there, they've been saying it a lot the last 24 hours, that his caddy was suggesting to him, just hit it out into the fairway, don't go for that gap, and Rory thought he could do it. So he went for it anyway, and he hit it perfectly. He couldn't have hit it more perfectly. To me, that was the best shot of his day, but could you have 4 different answers to that question?
Yes, that shot was phenomenal, and he kind of stepped through it, and there was that little teeny window gap at the top, and he hit it. The shot on 15, where he's a little blocked out, he has to draw it around the trees, and then it ends up hitting the green, and then at the perfect slope, which ended up setting up that eagle putt that you mentioned he missed, which was a makeable one. He tapped in for birdie, but that shot itself was phenomenal. 17, obviously, then the playoff one. Yeah, there's quite a few that you could say, even on 10, I loved his shot. Like, yeah, there was quite a few there during that you're sitting here thinking, hey, that's the shot of the tournament for him. And, yeah, his caddy, Harry Diamond, a longtime friend, he's been on his bag. And, people have criticized maybe should he have made a move with him, blah, blah, blah. Obviously he stuck with him and was a big part of his win yesterday. But, yeah, the highlight reels is, the quote shot of the day, like, you probably could give a half dozen from him yesterday.
Brian
Koziol with us, tee to green on Saturdays. Were you surprised, Brian, what happened to DeChambeau after he had the lead?
I was, because he said he was feeling excellent. I know that he said he's been struggling with his irons, but it really, really fell apart for him quickly. And he's so precise with everything he does. Even if I'm hooking he said, I was hooking the ball, I was hitting the toe. Like, he's usually such a good scientist at the fact that he's able to overcome that. He's like, well, okay, I'll aim this many degrees to the right and adjust for it. He's so good at that. I was surprised that it continued to be a struggle over and over. The amount of missed shots from him, that was definitely probably the most biggest surprise of the day, because it wasn't just once or twice. I mean, he hit it in the water multiple times. He was short and left quite often. I think for him, he's, in some sense, he could walk away, sitting here saying, look, I was in the lead in the final round here, and I had I didn't have my best game at all. And, that'll be something I'm sure he'll go and work on and adjust. For DeChambeau, too, with this high finish, I mean, we're going to see him in majors, obviously, now. He's got his exemptions for a while, so no matter how the live thing plays out, he's going to be a factor coming into these events. He's one of the best players in the world for sure. But him and McIlroy with the PGA Tour live thing, they didn't really talk at all yesterday. He said that he's they asked him, did you try to engage in conversation? He's like, no, he didn't want to talk to me. So a little rivalry there is obviously good for the sport too. That always helps.
Brian, the Sabres finish up the road portion of their schedule, finishing well under 500. Like, looking back, they finished strong at home, and on the road, a bit of a mess. They lose to Florida without half the Florida team. They lose to Tampa last night. I don't know, looking back on the road portion, or any sort of bow you want to put on this season with 2 games remaining.
Yeah, their road record this year was really bad. 13 wins. It's tied for the lowest in the Eastern Conference. There's a couple of other teams that have 13 as well, but that has to be better for the Sabres next season. They actually, during this, these last few years, were a little better on the road. It was their horrid KeyBank Center record, but that's improved at home, 22-14-3, so they're a little bit better at home than what they have been. But, yeah, these last 3 games, they've kind of circled back to doing some of the things that we saw throughout the struggles of this season, where their defensive zone awareness was poor. The turnovers were really, really bad over the course of these 3 games. Yesterday, Ryan McLeod had a terrible turnover early third period to Kucherov that really sealed it. It made it 6-2. Neither of the goaltenders this weekend really tough to judge. I thought Luukkonen played well on Saturday. Yesterday, Reimer, there was just traffic and turnovers everywhere, so not maybe the best game to judge him in general. But whatever they think this is playing the right way, this is what we have to do next year. Like, it's gone backwards here during this 3-game road trip. I wouldn't say it was at horrid standards, but it was pretty bad. Definitely some reminders yesterday when Tampa's just pumping goal in after goal of some of the down moments that we've seen from this team this year on the road. It has not been good. And as you mentioned, 2 more home games left this week to finish it off.
All right, Brian Koziol on the Western Hotline, wrapping the Sabres' loss in Tampa quickly, and also on the Masters. Thanks, Brian.
Okay, guys, thanks.